This is the High School Football America podcast for May the 13th, 2020. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability. It's fast, and they have awesome customer service. And plus, they have priced plans so right for every coach's budget. And now today, the big news that they're getting their pricing to be even better. For any program that signs up with GameStrat by June the 30th, the package will be discounted below the price of Huddle Sideline. Discounts up to $200. Yes, that's right. And here's the best part, because there's uncertainty out there, right? Well, here's the deal. If you sign up with GameStrat, they know your funds are tight and they will not go to waste. The worst case scenario is this. If your season is canceled, they will roll over the subscription until the following season, which means don't worry about it. You are covered, and you've paid early for the 2021 season. There is no risk to you. Tomorrow, the co-founder, and CEO of GameStrat, Tuncha Kaya, will be on the podcast to talk about this great offer. Again, check it out. And before we get into our interview today with our coach from Indiana, we're going to tell you that we are very, very pleased that just minutes ago we went to the post office and we put our first check in the mail for our GoFundMe campaign to help sports writers, high school sports writers across America who have been affected by COVID-19, many of them laid off or in some cases fired. And we sent out our first check today, and it goes to Jacksonville, Florida. The first story is up. Brandon Jennings, a 4-star college football prospect, a linebacker from Sandalwood in Jacksonville, Florida. He is being profiled by Bryant Roach, so you need to go to highschoolfootballamerica.com to check out the story. But more importantly, High School Football America is turning red, white, and blue. We always are. We're turning red, white, blue, and green now. Because of our campaign, we are able to help out people who are not able to go out there and promote our kids, our coaches, and our programs. Just so happy. Kevin Smith from upstate New York, he's working on the second one. We had another donation this morning. This is just starting to pick up a little bit of speed. So if you can do it, please go to highschoolfootballamerica.com. Check out all what we're doing with the GoFundMe account. Every penny goes to the reporters. High School Football America is picking up the fees associated with the GoFundMe campaign. This money goes right back into the community. And again, we wrote our first check today. The freelance assignments total $150, which is great. Hey, when I used to work for USA Today and write, I would get $250. As I've been joking with a lot of people, we're not USA Today yet, but $150 makes a difference for reporters that are out of work. So if you can donate, please do. If not, please spread the word to friends and family. And I make this one plea to coaches. Coaches, if you've ever been interviewed by a high school sports reporter, it might be a good time now to think about seeing if you can, make a $5, $10 donation. Every little bit helps. And again, it made us feel so good. Trish and I, so good today to write that check and drop it in the mail. Heading to the great state of Indiana, to Indianapolis. Longtime friend of the show, John Hebert, the head coach at Carmel High School, is on the line. The defending 6A state champs. I think this is a statement that I'll stand by, and John will like hearing it when I say it. Definitely right near the top of all-time high school football programs in the state of Indiana. 16th title game last November, 9th overall title, 5th appearance in the big championship game, 6A, in 7 years, and another showing in the High School Football America national rankings. And John's on here to talk a little bit about last year, a little bit about the year coming, and what's happening in between here, trying to keep a football season together as a coach as it relates to children being all over the place in his community. Welcome to the show, John. Good to have you on here, and I hope everybody in your family is safe and healthy.
Well, Jeff, first of all, it's an honor to be here. I'm really happy to be talking with you today, talking about football. I appreciate all that you just said in your introduction there about about our kids and our program. And, to answer your question, we are fortunate here in our household to be handling the crisis fairly well. I think, I don't want to say that we're getting used to it, but, dealing with the ups and downs, and that's probably the best we can hope for.
Yeah, we're all adjusting, and as I've been telling everybody since this began, we've upped the ante here on the podcast, having more coaches on just to take our minds off of the news of the day and talk a little bit about what we all love, and that's where we're going to kind of start here, and we're going to kind of jump into it. We folks, as you're listening here, John and I had a long conversation beforehand, and we're going to try and emulate some of that because last Friday I put out a story that I found. It was just kind of happenstance. I read a lot on the internet, and I saw that the Indiana High School Athletic Association released a statement on its website that really gave me pause to go, oh yeah, Mr. Positive here who keeps saying we're going to have a 2020 football season. This is what I'm talking about. And basically what it said, I'm going to read it verbatim. It said, provided there are no adjustments to Governor Eric Holcomb's announced plans to reopen the state of Indiana, school-sponsored summer activities may resume, not may as in they may, it's like they can open up on July 1st of 2020. So I put that out there. I figure, well, the people in the Hoosier State are going to love it, and things blew up. It has been seen about 500,000 times so far. As I told John, people around the country are retweeting it at their own state organization, saying, hey, look at what the Hoosier State is doing. And I thought nobody better to be on here to talk a little bit about it than John. And John was actually going to be on Monday, and he said, hey, Jeff, our Coaches Association, the Statewide Coaches Association, is going to have a little conversation on Tuesday night. Can we move it to Wednesday? So here we are on Wednesday, and I'm interested, John, to talk. We're going to talk a little bit about your thoughts on it, but tell me what happened last night as a result of this release that was put out on the IHSAA.
Well, the leadership under Bob Gaddis, who's our elected leader, was really forthcoming with updates regarding conversations that he had with the IHSAA following that statement that was put out, and just really talking through concerns, different scenarios, and we had really large attendance. We had to have 3 separate Zoom meetings.
Wow.
Just to get everybody in, and so we listened to Coach Gaddis at Columbus East as he told us and took us through, and I think more than anything that was said in particular, I think it's just in the spirit that you mentioned that everybody's in of wanting this to happen, and we're just eager for any kind of positive conversation that could lead to us really getting started on July 1st. I don't think we know what it's going to look like. That just wasn't really firmly discussed because we don't have those answers yet. There's still a month and a half before July 1st, and Governor Holcomb's plan was very thorough, and just like the national guidelines of having that 14-day period of the numbers trending in the right direction is what's going to have to happen before you move on to the next phase. So May 24th is the phase in Indiana where gyms can open. So among other things, but like our kids, many of them have not been working out with free weights. Mm-hmm. Those that don't have the free weights in their home, or maybe the ability to have people to work out with or whatever. But I think that when the gyms open up, we're going to see a little bit more structure there in terms of what it looks like. How do you maintain social distancing and the safe standards when people are working hard, sweating, breathing heavily. What exactly is that going to entail? And I think that information will be really vital for what we do here in Indiana on July 1st. That's my opinion. I don't think that anybody here is under the belief that we're going to put on equipment and start practicing. And, in Indiana, you're allowed to have competition days too. Our summers in Indiana have been just fantastic. We get 12 contact days with helmets and shoulder pads. You're allowed to have competition days with other schools. So, it really is up to the individual program, how they want to approach their summer. But, those types of things I think are way off in the distance. But I would think that most people, regardless of the limitations that are put on us, whether our kids have to stay 6 feet apart and have, a mask on, or maybe we're limited in majorly in the equipment that we're allowed to use, but any kind of team activity where our guys are in one place and we can look each other in the eye and we can do something related to the building of our team is going to be just a really welcome sight. And I think we're all just really hopeful that can happen on July 1st.
Yeah, well, I'm of the belief if I keep saying there's a season, it's going to happen. I'm a big manifester, Coach. But John Hebert is on the line at Carmel High School in Indianapolis, outside of Indianapolis. A great program, as I said at the top. Lots of state championships there, year in and year out. One of the top favorites there in the MIC. And, Coach, one of the things, and I've kind of evolved this over the last 2 months of some of the questions I asked. Some I'm going to repeat. But one thing kind of came to my mind as you were talking there that it's probably going to end up being a yes or no question, but I want you to expand upon it. And what I was thinking is, when you talk about, well, what's it going to look like? I said the other day on the podcast, think about this. There's a timeout on the field. Out come the managers with the water bottles. Do we each have a water bottle? You know what I mean? Like it's those simple things that you don't think about, right? But now as I think about that and what something you said there set this off, is football maybe better prepared than anything else in the world because there is structure, right? From the coaching staff and the way you handle things, practices, it's this way, this way, this way, this way, and the kids know how to follow that. I think football is positioned perfectly to come up with the changes that need to be made to make people feel comfortable that their kids can go out there and play football. I mean, how do you feel about that? Am I going off on a wrong tangent here, or do you feel what I'm saying? It's like, there's that structure inherent in football that can help the game and bring it back the way it needs to come back.
Well, Jeff, I think you hit the nail on the head of why the people that are in this game love it so much. And I agree 100% that, if there's any sport that can do it, it's this one. And I think one of the biggest contributing factors to that is just how badly the young people want to play this game. Mm-hmm. And not just because the game is fun, which it is, but it's all of the social aspects that come with it and the personal growth that results and the mentoring and the delayed gratification and all of those things. And to your point, we had a staff meeting last night prior to the IHSAA meeting, assistant coaches and our athletic trainer and our strength coach, all on a Zoom meeting. And we just started brainstorming the things that we would do, the things that we could do. We're looking into purchasing water bottles that fill from the bottom up, so the lids don't have to be taken off. We're talking about potentially each kid having their own water bottle. Now we've got 150 kids in our 10 through 12 program. That's a lot of water bottles, but if that's what we have to do, we're going to do it. And we'll probably have, we discussed sanitation stations, really putting an investment in sanitation, disinfectants and things like that, so that because it is such a highly personal game, but the ability to work into our schedule, kind of a disinfecting of gloves, of if we're allowed to have a ball, the disinfecting of the ball, we might not be able to get our kids in the locker room at all, or if we do, we might have to stagger it through 5 different groups. Well, we'll organize the disinfecting of the locker room in between the groups of kids coming in. I mean, there's going to be a lot of planning that's going to have to happen. But we're used to doing that. Like you said, it's, you have to have a highly organized environment in order to be successful and in order to function the right way. And this is just one more thing. I mean, I think anybody that's set in their ways, anybody that really is just so committed to doing things the way they've always done them is really going to struggle with this. But people that enjoy a challenge, see it as something to be solved and try to learn as they go. And I think if you sell that image, that vision to the kids, my experience is that they're 100% on board. And I know that'll be the case with our kids. They just want to be back here, no matter what we have to do.
Yeah, and it kind of saddened me as you were kind of talking there and thinking, and you no bones about it. You guys are a little bit more of an affluent community there, but when you start thinking about, and I'm not just talking Indiana, I'm talking across the country. There, you guys are planning. You're probably going to be able to, because of booster clubs and all that, be able to pull some of this off. What about those programs around the country that may not have those good things? Some of the bigger city school districts that struggle to year in and year out. That kind of made me sad as I was thinking about that. So John Hebert is on the line from Carmel High School. We're talking about right now the pandemic and what we're going through, but we're going to talk a little Greyhound football here in just a couple of questions. This one, John, I've thrown out at everyone, and we know you guys are doing different things, Zoom coaching meetings, and I'm sure you're doing different things with the kids to keep connected, but mine's more about you personally. What have you learned about yourself through this? Because I'm sure you've never ever gone to a coaching clinic where they talked about what to do in a pandemic. So what have you learned about yourself? Just personally, doesn't have to be football related. What have you learned?
Well, I think the timing of this for me personally was probably as positive as it could have been. I did make some lifestyle changes in the last year that really helped me enjoy this past season and school year. Mostly mental health related, trying to slow down, exercising more. I've been meditating and making some changes in my diet, and just to try to feel better and have more energy. And of course, those things are being strained right now because I'm less active, and I'm we're helping the kids. So I've got 3 children, and my wife is working around the clock, as many people are, because of the new nature of the workplace. And so, it can be stressful. But at least I think for me, I've learned that you need to have a handle on how you're feeling. And I think you need to identify it, and you need to be prepared to take steps to de-escalate some negative feelings and negative emotions that everybody's going through. I mean, it's impossible to read the news and without really intentionally trying to keep that positive mindset that you mentioned earlier. If you allow yourself to just dwell on negative things, then you're going to find yourself in a deep rut. And so I'm trying to remind myself of these things. It is a daily battle, and I think, if anything, I feel like we need to be really tolerant of each other and supportive of each other, compassionate toward one another when it comes to what people are going through. Because I think some people are going through a really hard time. You might not know it, and they might not tell you about it, and you can't see it because they're in their own homes. And we need to assume that everybody is going through a hard time, and everybody deserves our patience and our support. And I think when we get back together, that's going to be the overriding vision that I'm going to be trying to promote, is that we're going to be that type of a group, that we're going to be there for each other.
Yeah, we're all in it together. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
I think that's the best way to put it. And the last question about this before we move into some football, and I've asked a lot of people this, and as you said earlier a couple of minutes ago, you and your staff are already thinking about, what do we do differently to move forward and all that. And here's the one that I've been posing. And it builds upon what you just said there. You do not know what's going on in every single kid's home. Good, bad, ugly, horrible, all of those things. But there's going to come a time, because I do believe there is going to be a season this year, where you're going to have your entire program sitting in front of you. And you as the head coach there, you're going to have to deliver a message, right? And those kids that you're talking to are all going to have different feelings. Some of the kids are going to be, as I've been describing, like, tigers that haven't had meat in a while, right? They're ready to hop out of that cage and play some football. And then you're going to have some kids that are watching a lot of that news because they can't go out of the house, right? Or they're just catching glimpses. Their parents watch it, and they may be a little afraid right? They still want to play football, but they may be a little afraid. Have you thought about that message that you deliver and how you handle it as a program to make sure that all kids kind of, no matter where they fall on that spectrum, know that, this is a safe place to play the game that we all love?
Well, and you're right. That's the essential question. And the way that we deal with it and the way I think we'll continue to is, first of all, I have just an amazing staff of assistant coaches, and we really try to team up when it comes to the kind of support that we give to the kids that need it most. And it's going to be really important that we identify who those are with whatever available, details and just the indicators that we can determine. And I think that the way we will probably do that is to start really slow. And, just by being together, we might not even do anything on day one with physical. It may be all mentally related, and day two, maybe just a little bit more, but still not too much, because I know enough to know that the kids are not working by and large to the same physical standard that they would if they were in each other's presence. That if they did, then it wouldn't be such a great team sport that it is. So we've got to start slow, start small, build from there, gather data, and not get ahead of ourselves. One of the things, and I have to think most people are thinking this way too. I'm not spending a whole lot of time on this, on all of these clinic talks and everything, because I think we're going to have to pare down what we do, probably down to maybe 25-30% of what we do, because we're not going to have the time to teach it. We're not going to have all those intricacies. What's going to be most important is, really having a foundation of who you are, why you're playing, who you're playing for, and then, put in some basic structures, and then just get back to trying to play the game when we get that opportunity. So I think that goes for all of our involvement. Just being together is going to be the real task that we have to cherish.
Yep. No, I agree with that 100%. And it's my favorite part of the podcast over the last 2 months. We get to flip a switch here and talk some football. We'll put a big smile on your face to start off with. Coach John Hebert, you won a state championship last year in Indiana's biggest classification, and that's a big deal, no matter what state you're in. But you guys, as we've discussed when you've been on the show before, it's a little bit tougher in 6A because you usually have that hit them once in the regular season and then probably again in the playoffs to get to that championship and hoist the trophy. You're 9th overall last year, 5th appearance in the last 7 years. And just as I tell you those things, those numbers, and you think back to Lucas Oil Stadium last year around Thanksgiving, what kind of thoughts bubble to your brain and put a smile on your face?
Well, I was texting with some of our players that are graduating, and we had some that graduated mid school year, so they could go to college already, and then they came home a month later and said, "Boy, doesn't the season seem like a couple of years ago now? It just seems so long ago with all that's happened." But the feelings that we have, it was absolutely a highlight, if not the highlight, of my entire coaching career, to see how this team really bonded, came together. What has happened in the last 2 state championships that we've won is that we've faced some real adversity at probably the middle point of the season, and we could go one direction or the other. Unfortunately, we doubled down on our commitment to each other, and we stepped backwards from the X's and O's and more toward the human beings, and we solved some of those issues. Most importantly, the team solved them. Our leaders did. So many kids really stepped up and contributed in regards to keeping the locker room together and staying focused on the daily tasks. And we just had a really tough game in that state championship against Center Grove and Eric Moore. Just phenomenal program. Just we knew they were going to be really hard to beat a second time, and because the first game was really tough, and we hadn't beaten them in the regular season in a few years prior to this year. So going into that last one, and it was back and forth and a slugfest, and they scored 14 points in the third and fourth quarter and got within 3, and we got the ball back with 4 minutes left, and our offensive line just really just brilliant assignment and physicality blocking, and our running game to turn the lights out on the scoreboard, and we were able to come away with the win. So we had injuries. We had we were by the end of the game, we were on our third string quarterback. We had lost a kid Christian Williams, who was going to Michigan State to play baseball. He had settled in as our starting quarterback, and in the regional finals, he had a Liz Frank injury that ended his career, and we had a senior step up who had started a lot for us, Gabe Quigley, and he carried us all the way to the state championship, and then he breaks his collarbone in the state game and plays for another 3 plays with a broken collarbone, trying to hold it in place as he's running the ball and choosing to run the ball so that we can get a first down. And then sophomore Zach Osborne seals it for us by executing our offense there at the end in the 4-minute situation. And so we were fortunate to keep a positive mindset. I think anytime you can do that, you've always got a chance.
No doubt about that. Talking Carmel Greyhound football out of Indiana, John Hebert, the head coach, longtime assistant there before getting the head coaching job. And Coach, one of the things, and I haven't really had a chance to do this, but now that we're in the month of May and graduation and all that, what are you saying to some of these seniors? And I know you have a lot of kids that are multi-sport athletes that aren't having the opportunity to play baseball or track. I'm not sure all the sports you have there in the spring, but what are some of the things you're talking to those kids? What are you hearing from the kids? More importantly, I guess, are they picking up the phone or are they texting saying, "Coach, I'm struggling with not being able to swing the bat or go over the hurdles" or anything like that?
There are some kids that are that's a great strength I see in a young person that has the ability and willingness to talk about what they're going through emotionally, and some of them have done that, and I think a lot of them would really benefit from doing that. I don't see how you can go through this time period and lose out on these great experiences and not have, some real emotional issues to talk about. And I think that what's keeping so many of them positive is this forward thinking of what's next. And I think in the last couple of years, but especially this year, we have so many kids that played in this last season that are going to go on. They want to play college football, or they want to play college baseball, or, they've got plans when it comes to an athletic career to go along with their academics. And so that hope of, having a better day and having more opportunities. I tell you, our facilities are closed. You're not supposed to be on the field. We are not encouraging. In fact, I'm telling them not to go out and, risk things right now, that we've got to go by the governor's plan. But I tell you, I get reports that there are a lot of kids they're still out there doing it. And while that's risky behavior, and I don't endorse that, but it speaks to the heart of so many of these kids that they just want to be back out there. And I remember being young and feeling less vulnerable than I feel now. But so I hope that they're not overdoing it. But I think there's just this sense among them, especially having won a state championship in 2019, like we did, that the group that's coming back wants to repeat. That's not something that has happened in 6A in Indiana. It just doesn't happen in here.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is. And that's what I love most about it. Ben Davis will win, and then the next year Warren Central will win, and then Center Grove and Carmel, and so it's been consolidated into the hands of mostly mixed teams, in our conference, but it never to this point yet in 6 classes has been a repeat performance. So I know that our kids really want to break that barrier, and the kids that are going to go to college. And our nose tackle Cole Brevard was already at Penn State getting ready for spring ball. Ty Wise was at Indiana getting ready for spring ball, and Dylan Downing, running back, who was so great for us, as were the previous two guys, is at UNLV, and he was already there, and now they're back home. And I think the positive thing there is they're continuing to have an impact on next year's group by stressing these same things that this is an obstacle. Our slogan for next year is the hard way. And we came up with that long ago. and I told him I had no idea how that meaning would evolve to what it is now, the hard way. We're going to do it the hardest way I think it's ever been done, but that'll be the fun of it.
We're going to talk about some of the talent here in one more question, but I'm going to have you put on your ambassador hat for the state of Indiana football, because you said something there that I think is real important as I've been watching. And our algorithm tracks 15 things, and it goes without saying, we've talked about this before, that the MIC teams, the conference that you're in, is very, very strong, as evidenced by all the state championships. But what I've been seeing is a difference. Like even in the playoffs, some of those games that used to maybe be blowouts when, the MIC came calling, maybe they were, first round easies or second round. It seems like there is an elevation across the state. So I'm going to give you your opportunity here. Where is the state of Indiana high school football heading into 2020?
Well, you're exactly right. And the level of play is being risen in all 6 classes. And, arguably our 5A champion, New Palestine, who, they're by enrollment, they're actually a 4A school, but the success factor, they've moved up. And Kyle Ralph is just, he is setting the trend for, dominant play on both sides of the ball. And he's a phenomenal coach. And so people that are interacting with him are trying to push the envelope themselves. And, we went north. We're scheduled to go south next year. The alignment changed. But when we went north in the past couple of years, Lafayette Jeff, the city of Lafayette, which joins with West Lafayette, where Purdue is an up and coming program. Pat Shamley's doing an excellent job there. And then up in Merrillville, we played Merrillville in the semi-state this year, so they're kind of the outskirts of Chicago and Gary area. There's a lot of great football players, great coaching up there at Merrillville. They probably got 5 or 6 Division I players on their team. And Fort Wayne Snyder, we played them twice in the past 3 years, and they were just really physical, tough games. And so, as I look around the state, of course, Central Indiana, where most of the people live, and that's the reason it's highly concentrated and populated. The MIC and then the HCC, those are 2 really strong conferences, and we're making each other better by playing each other. But then, those schools up there in North, and we can't forget about Penn up there in South Bend. They've been a trendsetter for years, and so. I think it's great football. I really do. We're not as big of a state, of course, as Ohio or Illinois, and we don't have the number of schools, but the level of play is really high. And I think if you were to watch a game, you'd see it right off the bat. You'd see physical kids that have worked really hard in the weight room. You'd see talent and speed. You'd see great coaching. It's just practically impossible to outcoach somebody consistently in our league. They're all great coaches, and they prepare their teams so well. For instance, Lawrence North, I've said this many times, they won 1 league game, and we were the 6A state champion, and we beat them by 3 points in overtime. And it took us just a great run of momentum to get that done. And that's what separates the top and the bottom of our league. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see where this goes, because it has only gotten better year after year.
Last year, New Palestine 103 in our rankings. You guys finished number 104 to just kind of put it in perspective. And you did bring up a bad moment for me because you know my love of snapping high school football stadiums. On the way to Chicago last year, we stayed in Merrillville the one night, and I got up early in the morning thinking, oh, I can just go over to the stadium and take. I'm always seeing it driving on 65, right? Years I've been driving by. Now I got a chance. I couldn't get in there and couldn't find it, so you just disappointed me. If you're ever there, snap a picture or two for me.
Coach. Oh, and it's a great stadium. It's a great stadium.
Yeah, but
it's a lot like ours, but it also doesn't have a track, so it's got a really intimate feel to it. The stands are right up there close to the field. I love playing there.
Well, but I was not disappointed. I did go over and I got into the Brickyard, and I got to watch what I say here because people think I'm breaking and entering. But I did find my way in that one. I'm not saying that I was really they weren't welcoming me, but I found my way in. That's a great stadium too. Anyway, John Hebert's on the line. We'll now go back to talking a little Greyhound football to wrap it up. I think I heard a couple of things as you were describing the 2019 championship. A lot of good kids that are going on to play at the next level. So obviously the beauty of high school football is it changes every year. But I thought I heard some sophomores in there and some other things, and I kind of looked at what you had from last year's roster. It looks like you've got some talent back, so give us a thumbnail sketch, go both sides of the ball. Who are some of the kids you expect big things from on the field and off the field?
Well, we do have a phenomenal group, and that's why all of this that we're discussing, and I know that coaches all over the country feel the same way. It's not just a season that's at stake. It's the culmination of the preparation that these kids that are going to be seniors having that finality of their experience, and it's where they come full circle and they lead from the front, and the team really rests on their shoulders. So we have a great senior class. I'm so eager to see them come together. We already had started our leadership meetings, and we had 8 kids. 7 of them were seniors that were in that initial group, and many more that we were going to add to it. We've got a couple of phenomenal leaders on offense, several actually, but Justin Pickett is an offensive guard for us, and yesterday he got an offer from the University of Arizona. He's 6'7", about 330 pounds, and he's just just an unbelievably hard worker and really humble kid. He's got no ego and he gives himself to his teammates all the time. And Colton Parker is a wide receiver that had 8 touchdown catches for us last year. He's got a handful of Division I offers. He's a really talented track athlete and just an unbelievable competitor. Wants to win more than anybody in our building. And he had a great season for us last year. Zach White, running back for us. He had a 1,000-yard season 2 years ago, and this past year he had 500 some, but that's because we played three running backs, and they all are phenomenal. J.D. Rogers, he's committed to Vanderbilt to play baseball. He just a superb athlete, but more so the work ethic and toughness and leadership. I mean, he's just a great kid, and I'm heartbroken for him missing out on his baseball season. I know how important that is to him. But again, he's really positive and forward thinking and lifting others up around him. Oh boy, I know I'm going to leave a whole bunch of people out. I did mention Zach Osborne at quarterback. He's a kid with a lot of talent, a lot of football ahead of him after high school, and he's got a great arm and great attitude, and he got a lot of good experience this past year. So we're excited to see where that takes him. We've got tight ends, Zach Bilger. His father played for the Indianapolis Colts. Ken Bilger in Illinois. Zach's a talented kid, catches the ball. He's kind of a hybrid that can play in line and also play on the perimeter, which really helps with our diversification of our offensive schemes. We've got several guys back on defense that played a lot of football for us. Dominic Pageant at inside linebacker he'll be a 3-year starter and an all-conference player. His father also played for the Colts for several years, and Dominic is, just like everything I said about those other guys, leadership wise, kind of a quiet leader, but really positive and tough, and just a great football player. Owen Schaefer started 2 years for us already at corner. He's surprisingly athletic. He doesn't jump out at you that way, but he's just really mentally tough and smart. Several of these kids are 4.0s or close, and so they're really students of the game, and Owen is that way for us. And Andrew Turvey, an outside linebacker, big physical kid, great attitude, hard worker. He communicates with us all the time about how things are going and picking people up. And, and then let's see here, Solomon Williams, his brother I mentioned earlier, Christian, who's going to Michigan State to play baseball. Solomon is he's a safety for us, and was our starting nickel and special teams extraordinaire, and was just a really tough physical kid that's got a lot of upside, very talented, also really good baseball player. Gavin Hale is another linebacker that rotated a lot for us, played extensively throughout the season, and had a TFL and a forced fumble in the state championship game that helped us get the lead in the second quarter. Again, a 4.0 student and great leader. And we have our kicker back, Spencer Hanna. He's been our starting place kicker, field goal kicker for the last 2 years. He's just been phenomenal. Kicked 3 field goals for us in the state championship game as a junior, and his sophomore year he was something like 11 out of 12 field goals, and just the kind of guy that loves to have the pressure on him and have just never wavers when it comes to having a lot on his shoulders. So excited about him and having him as a veteran leader for us. So I could go on and on.
Okay, Coach. Now that's tough. It's very, very hard. I know you got to rack your brain here. Do we have anybody else? Anybody you missed?
Well, I need to mention Barron Smith.
Oh, okay. I knew you forgot somebody.
Well, the old brain doesn't work as fast as it used to. I can't forget Barron because he really had a great season for us at wide receiver and kick returner, and there are a lot of other guys too who are on the verge. They were great special teams players for us, and I just know they're going to step in and have great seasons for us. We've got several offensive linemen that have been working really hard. So I'm sorry if I left anybody out.
Well, yeah, we got you there, though. Our job is to promote as many kids as we can. So I'm just glad you remembered Barron Smith. He gets a little extra prop on that one. John Hebert on the line. We're going to wrap things up here with, once again, you guys aren't afraid to play anybody. I see that a couple of cupcakes to open the season with, Kentucky Power Trinity, and then in-state Indiana Power, who plays all over the country at this point in the Northeast there, Cathedral. So I guess you were thinking that the best way to start the season was an easy 2-0 start, right? Now talk about the schedule.
I'll tell you. And Jim Inskeep, our athletic director, and I talk about this all the time. We're not afraid to play anybody because we're not afraid to lose. We don't schedule those games really knowing exactly what kind of a team we're going to have, because they're often scheduled in advance. And so the question gets posed to me: Do you want to continue this series with Trinity? And my answer is yes. And they beat us up pretty good this past year in week 1. Down at their place. I mean, that hasn't happened to us in a long time, but we wouldn't have grown the way we did and have become the eventual state champion, in my opinion, had we not had that big dose of reality when we went down there and played them. And it's the beauty of playing in our league. I just don't think you can get hung up on our 1-loss record. It's not important to me. It's about having an ascending team that is going to go through hard things, because then you're going to be able to get to the real heart of the matter. Are we really committed to getting better? Can we look in the mirror and accurately see where we are right now? And there's just no way to do that without playing the best competition and being forced to face the truth.
That's a good way to put it. Well, Coach, it's always fun to talk with you. Appreciate the friendship. You've been a big supporter of ours, and that means a lot to me. And I'm just, like I said, I am very positive there will be a season, and that's good for all the kids. You get not only what you do for kids, because I say this all the time, fans around the country have got to understand that football is not what it was when I was a kid growing up, where a coach coached for 4 months out of the year and then just kind of hung it up until it rang around again the next year. These guys, him and his staff, they do a lot to help kids. In many cases, they're like second fathers. And John, I know you're well respected in the community there, and I'm just so proud to call you a friend and know that you've been able to do what you've been able to do there as an assistant, and then just step in and keep it clicking right along as an HC. So congrats on that, and have a great 2020. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Jeff, thank you for all you do for high school athletes all over this country. What you're doing is providing hope, positivity, and you're celebrating the great benefits of what I believe is the greatest game in the world. And thanks for having me and including me, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thanks for those kind words. We'll see you down the road.
Absolutely. Take care.
John Hebert, what a great guy. Really always enjoy my conversations with him, and it'll be interesting to see where Carmel is as we move closer and closer. We are now 47 days away from the release of the High School Football America Preseason 100 on June the 29th. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat. If you weren't listening at the beginning, this is a big deal. Up until June 30th, if you sign up for their instant replay sideline package, and by the way, GameStrat is highly reliable and faster than them all, and they've got great customer service. And when I talk to coaches around the country, and I talk to a lot of them, one of the things they complain about is bad customer service. Well, here's the deal. Right now, they are discounting all of their packages. If you buy before June 30th, it's a month and a half away, your package will be discounted well below the price of Huddle's Sideline. Yep, and by the way, they're better than Huddle's Sideline. Discounts up to $200, and your money will not be at risk, because if your season is canceled, they're going to roll over the subscription until next season, meaning the 2021 season. No risk, great reliability, great speed, great customer service. What are you waiting for? I've been doing this for almost 44 years now, meaning being a professional journalist. Met a lot of people along the way, a lot of companies along the way. These guys are the real deal, and the co-founder and CEO of the company, Tunch Akaya, will again join me tomorrow on the podcast to talk about why they're doing this. And why are they doing it? They care about the game. They care about coaches. That's the bottom line. When you call them, they will answer, and they will get you fixed. That's the main thing. And you may say, Jeff, well, they're your customer. Well, of course. But what you don't know is how much time and effort and research I do when we bring partners on to the High School Football America platform. This is not for just a year. This is always long term. That's the way I look at it. I check these guys out. I check them out not only with what they do and how they run their company. I checked out the technology. But you know who I really checked it out with? Coaches I respect. And coaches that I respect that have made the switch tell me there's no way it compares to Huddle Sideline. It is that much better. Huddle Sideline, hey, we know Huddle's, the 12,000-pound gorilla in the room, but I got news for you. Their customer service ain't what it used to be as they became that big gorilla, and GameStrat will make you smile when it comes to what you need, especially on game day. You need somebody to answer that phone, and trust me, the guys at GameStrat will do that for you. Oh, and by the way, they are football players. Tunch Akaya is a former college football player, and he created it for his coach. So he knows exactly what you coaches need out there when it comes to instant replay on the sidelines at the high school level. All right, so that's tomorrow. We're going to talk with Tunch Akaya of GameStrat for all your needs when it comes to sideline instant replay. You've been listening to the High School Football America podcast, and I'm Jeff Fisher.